Hi, I'm Tax Resolution Attorney Tony Ramos, speaking to you today about two ways that you can settle with the IRS when you don't really have enough to pay them 100%. Today we're going to talk about the partial payment installment agreement and currently not collectible status. Remember, I'm not giving you legal advice right now. Make sure you consult with an attorney, but this is good general information for you. So in the situation where you owe the IRS money and either you can't pay anything right now because you're out of work, you're sick, you started a new job and your pay isn't good, or you can pay something but you can't pay all of it, you have these two alternatives. Both of them require you to prove to the IRS that you can't afford to pay 100%. So you have to prepare what's called collection information statements. This is what the IRS uses to look at your income, your expenses, your assets, and your liabilities in order to determine your ability to pay. So that's something good about, if there's anything good about owing money to the IRS, it's not based on the amount of money that you owe, it's based on your ability to pay. Now, if this is something that interests you, give us a call. We'll set you up for a free consultation. Now, for example, I'm speaking to you from San Antonio, Texas. The IRS has national and local standards, what the IRS considered reasonable living expenses. For example, a car payment, they'll go up to $508 a month, and that's national standards. But for operating, oil, tires, maintenance, car insurance, in Bexar County, Texas, where I'm at, it's only $281 a month. You're also allowed, without proof, out-of-pocket medical expenses in addition to your medical insurance premiums of $55 or $114 if you're over 65 years of age. And for a family of four, food, clothing, miscellaneous, $1,943 allowed in this part of the country. Those are just examples. The IRS has standards as to what they consider reasonable and necessary living expenses and expenses to make a living for your livelihood. Now, let's talk about a partial payment installment agreement. The reason it's partial payment is that the IRS only has 10 years to collect any debt, tax, penalties, and interest that you might owe to them, and whatever they don't collect within those 10 years gets written off, gets forgiven. So let's say, for example, after you submit collection information statements, the financial disclosures to the IRS, you can satisfy them that you can only afford to pay $300 a month. And assuming there's only 3 years left, 36 months on the 10-year collection statute, you would multiply $300 times 36 payments. It would add up to $10,800. So of the $50,000 that you owed, forget about even adding interest over time, you would pay less than $40,000. You would pay $10,800, which is almost $40,000 less than what you owe to the IRS. That's why it's called a partial payment installment agreement. Now, related to that is what's called currently not collectible status. I have clients who are sick, they lost their job, they're getting started all over again, and they can't afford to pay anything, and they're receiving threatening letters from the IRS. Well, but by providing your financial disclosures about your income, your expenses, your assets and liabilities, sometimes we can satisfy them that you can't pay anything at all. So what they will do is they will review your tax returns after a couple of years to see if you can afford to start paying anything. Likewise, when you have a partial payment installment agreement, they'll review you in 2 years as well to see if you can afford to pay more. But the good news is if you can't even afford to pay what you had offered to begin with, you can even lower your payments after you show your tax returns indicate you can't even pay what you had already agreed to. So in both of these cases, you have to remain in compliance. After you make your partial payment installment agreement or obtain currently not collectible status, you have to be filing your tax returns on time. You have to pay the taxes. If you default, then the deals are off and you have to start all over again. This applies not only to individuals but also to businesses. And if you have employees as a business, you've got to continue to make your payroll taxes, estimated tax payments. But in both of these cases, the good news is, like I said at the beginning, It's not how much you owe, it's what you can afford to pay. Now, sometimes the IRS will ask you to apply for a loan to borrow on the equity in your assets, but oftentimes they won't do that. And you won't have to sell your home, you don't have to sell your cars. Every case is different. So if either the partial payment installment agreement or the currently not collectible status is of interest to you, give me a call and we'll set you up for a free consultation. We'll talk to you soon.